In this video, we will look at how to divide decimals by another decimal number. Before we do that, let's look at how we divide regular whole numbers first and see how dividing by decimal numbers is different. Let's take 415 divided by 2. Step 1, we would set up a division problem with the divisor on the outside and the dividend on the inside. So we would put 2 on the outside, that's what we're dividing by, and 415 on the inside, that is what we're dividing. Step 2, we divide as normal. And we check the first digit first to see if 2 can go into 4. And we know that 2 goes into 4 twice. We multiply 2 by 2 to give us 4, and then we subtract. 4 take away 4 is 0, and we bring down the 1. Now we ask, can 2 go into 1? And it cannot, so 2 goes into 1 0 times. We write the 0 on the top. 2 times 0 is 0. And if we subtracted, we would get 1 again. So we would just now bring down the next digit of 5. And say 2 into 15 goes 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. When we subtract, we get 1. And in a regular division problem, we would be done. Our answer would be 207, remainder 1. Before we go into dividing by decimal numbers, let's find out what happens when we multiply by 10. We will need this information when we are dividing by decimal numbers. 2 times 10 is 20. What about 5 times 10? We know that's 50. What about 8 times 10? We know that's 80. Take a look at what is similar in each one of these questions and their answer. We see that there is a 2 in the question and a 2 in the answer. 5 in the question, 5 in the answer. 8 in the question, 8 in the answer. If we rewrite 2 as 2.0, we can see that all we had to do was move the decimal place one time to the right to give us the answer of 20. If we rewrite 5 as 5.0, we can see that if we move the decimal place one place to the right, we also get 50. And if we rewrite 8 as 8.0, and we move the decimal one place to the right, we get 80. So the rule is when you multiply by 10, it moves the decimal place one place to the right. Using that same rule, let's see if we can multiply 0.3 times 10. If we move the decimal place one place to the right, the decimal is now to the right of the 3, and our answer is 3. What about 0.7 multiplied by 10? We know multiplying by 10 means we move the decimal one place to the right, and now the decimal place is to the right of the 7, and the answer is 7. 0.9 multiplied by 10. If we move the decimal one place to the right, the decimal is now to the right of the 9, and that answer is 9. Again, multiplying by 10 moves the decimal one place to the right. Now let's look at what happens when we multiply by 100. We know that 2 times 100 is 200. 5 times 100 is 500. 8 times 100 is 800. Notice again in the question there's 2, and in the answer there's also 2 with 2 zeros. 5 is in the question, 5 is also in the answer with 2 zeros. 8 is in the question, 8 is in the answer with 2 zeros. Now if we rewrite 2 as 2.00, we can see that if we move the decimal 2 places to the right, that gives us our answer of 200. So multiplying by 100 is the same as moving the decimal 2 places to the right. If we rewrite 5 as 5.00 and we move the decimal place 2 places to the right, it now is positioned after the last 0, and that is the same as 500. And if we rewrite 8 as 8.00, multiplying by 100 means moving 2 places to the right, 1, 2, and now the decimal place is after the second 0, and that is the same as 800. So the rule is multiplying by 100 moves the decimal 2 places to the right. So let's use that same rule and see if we could figure out what the answer is if we multiply 0.03 times 100. We know that if we multiply by 100, we can move the decimal 2 places to the right. So let's move 1, 2, and now the decimal point is right after the 3, and so the answer is 3. What about 0.17 multiplied by 100? Again, move the decimal place 2 places to the right. 1, 2. The decimal is now after the 7, and the answer is 17. Last one, 0.49 multiplied by 100. Again, move the decimal place 2 places to the right. 1, 2. Now the decimal is right after the 9, and our answer is 49. So again, the rule, multiplying by 100 moves the decimal 2 places to the right. Let's use this information now to find the value of 4.15 divided by 0.2. We are dividing a decimal number by a decimal number. In order to divide 4.15 by 0.2, we have to convert 0.2 into a whole number that we know how to divide by. We know our 2 times table. We know how to divide by 2. So how can we change 0.2 into 2 based on the information we've learned before? Well, if we move the decimal place 1 point to the right, now that becomes 2. But we also have to move the decimal place 1 place to the right in 4.15. The decimal point now is moved between the 1 and the 5, 1 place. And now the new question becomes 41.5 divided by 2. Even though the numbers look different, because we moved the decimal point 1 place in the divisor and the dividend, we can now work out our answer. And so let's divide 41.5 divided by 2. 2 into 4 goes twice. 2 times 2 is 4. When we subtract, we get 0 and we bring down the 1. Now we know 2 cannot go into 1, so 2 goes into 1 0 times. And if we multiplied 0 by 2, it would give us 0, and we would end up with 1 again, so all we have to do is to bring down the 5. And say 2 into 15 goes 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. And when we take away, we get 1. Now with decimal problems, we know that we can add a 0 where there is not 1, and we can bring that down. And now 2 into 10 goes 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 take away 10 is 0. And so we're done, but we need to know where to put the decimal place in our answer. And the decimal point in the question goes immediately above in the answer. And so our answer is 20.75. Let's try to find the value of 7.72 divided by 0.04. We need to find a way to convert 0.04 into a whole number that we know. Well, 0.04, if we move the decimal point 2 places, 1, 2, we now have the number 4. And so we have to move the same number of places under the division sign. 1, 2, and put the decimal point. And now we rewrite the question as 4 into 772, or 772 divided by 4. And now we can work this problem, and it will give us the same answer as if we divided the original problem. So let's divide 772 divided by 4. The decimal point, you can see, is right after the 2. 4 into 7 goes once. 1 times 4 is 4. 7 take away 4 is 3. And we bring down the 7. Now 4 into 37 goes 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. We subtract, and we get 1. And we bring down the final number of 2. Now we have 12. 4 into 12 is 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. When we subtract, 12 take away 12 is 0, and we're finished. The decimal point now moves up, and our answer is 193 point, which is really 193. Let's find the value of 9.36 divided by 0.8. Again, based on the prior questions, we know that we can change 0.8 into 8 by moving the decimal place 1 place to the right. Then we would have to move the decimal place in 9.36 also 1 place to the right. And we rewrite our question as 93.6 divided by 8. And we work out this question now. 8 goes into 9 once. 1 times 8 is 8. When we subtract, we get 1, and we bring down the 3. 8 into 13 goes once. 1 times 8 is 8, and we subtract again, and we get 5. And lastly, we bring down the 6. 8 into 56 goes 7 times. 8 times 7 is 56. And when we subtract, we get 0. Now we have to move the decimal point into place in our answer, and we get 11.7. Let's find the value of 8.91 divided by 0.03. Again, when you look at 0.03, you can see that we have to move the decimal place 2 times to get to the number 3. So we move that once, twice. We put the decimal place after the 3. We know that's 2 places. And so in the dividend, we move the decimal 2 places to the right, 1, 2. And our new number is 891 divided by 3. So when we work that out, 3 goes into 8 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. When we subtract, we get 2. We bring down the 9. 3 into 29 goes 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. When we subtract, we get 2. And we bring down the last digit, 1. 3 into 21 goes 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21. When we subtract, we get 0. Now we put the decimal point right above, and our answer is 297. And the last one, 28.92 divided by 1.2. We don't know how to divide by 1.2, but we know how to divide by 12 because we know our 12 times table. And so all we have to do is move the decimal point 1 place to the right. Now that becomes 12. And because we moved that 1 decimal place, we have to move the decimal place 1 time in the dividend. 1 time. And our new question is 12 into 289.2. Now we ask, can 12 go into 2? We know 2 is not big enough. And so we check, can 12 go into 28? Yes. 12 goes into 28 twice. 2 times 12 is 24. When we subtract, we get 4, and we bring down the 9. 12 into 49 goes 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. When we subtract, we're left with 1. We bring down the last digit of 2. 12 into 12 goes once. 1 times 12 is 12, and when we subtract, we're left with 0. Now we move the decimal point in the question right above it, and our answer is 24.1. And now you've solved the mystery of how to divide decimals by decimal numbers.